is the Diary of a Lady Band Director podcast. Oh, the theme music. All right, here we go. Oh, Steve Cunningham, we got toddler forehead going on. With
Oh,
we gonna start. I'm sorry early. I'm sorry. I literally just got home from work, y'all. You know how toddlers. Now we got the Zoom screen. We got the Zoom screen. You know when the kids ain't want nobody to see that they still in bed. All right. Well, this is about to be fun. Welcome, 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 welcome to Diary of a Lady Band Director, the only uh, podcast, or I should say, the first podcast run by a Black woman to talk everything about music education and everything band. And today we're going to have a fun time because this is an off the cuff and just a little warning disclaimer. Um, Anything that you may say will not be used against you because anybody listening already know how this show about to go. Um, so today we have a panel of fellow collegiate professors at various universities and some who have their own private studios that work nationally and internationally now. I'm not internationally known, but I'm known to rock the microphone. Now I'm going all the way back because I feel like there's enough 80s babies. It takes two to make a thing go. Lauren, oh, you're that millennial. You're really a 90s kid. Oh, boo. Oh. All right, anyway. So today's show is off the cuff with adjuncts. Now, we have interviewed women band directors, music professors, musicians, and arrangers, but it is time to talk to the people who, in my opinion, have the most impact on individual musicianship and ultimately preparation for music majors to go into the real world and to be able to not just survive, but thrive in any musical situation that comes their way. However, there is a catch. Often, we do not put a lot of emphasis on our private instructors and private lessons, especially, unfortunately, at our HBCUs. Today, we're going to talk about the real heroes of the music major's life, the private instructor. Let's get into it. All right. So we're going to go around and introduce the panel. We're going to go on my screen, it's counterclockwise. And we're going to start with you, Dr. Lamont Lawhorn. You can introduce yourself, say, where you work. I know where you work, your primary instrument, and any relevant degrees. And, since it's January, any Greek affiliations. He had to take off his coat.
I had it really close. I didn't know how we were going to come on here. Founders Day was just a few days ago, and shout out to Lauren. Happy Founders Day to you on yesterday. My name is Dr. Lamont Lawhorn, currently assistant professor and coordinator of percussion studies at Virginia State University. Proud graduate of Prairie View A&M. Got my undergraduate degree at Prairie View. Marched in the band, was a percussion major, so my instrument is percussion. I'm a master's at the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss, where I studied with Ricky Burkhead. and I got my doctorate degree, my DMA in percussion performance from University of North Carolina at Greensboro, UNCG, where my professors were Christopher Keaton, Neeraj Mehta, and Eric Willie. I currently serve as president elect for Percussive Arts Society, and yeah, ready to talk about all things percussion.
And shamefully to say, I didn't know that there was a percussion art society until maybe I was teaching high school because middle school. When you're in that middle school level, you just try to make sure they don't kill each other with drumsticks.
Yeah, oh man, this I don't want to take it, but because of Art Society is just the end all be all. It's not the end all be all, but I look at it for me personally as the end all be all for percussion. It's an organization that encompasses everything percussion from rudimental keyboard, percussion ensemble, orchestral percussion, world percussion, all of these things, and we have international chapters as well. When people think about, oh, what's PAS? I was like, oh, you play 40 rudiments, right? I was like, yeah, well, it used to be 26. But because of Art Society, through the Rudimental Committee, established the rudiments that now everyone learns. And so it's through PAS that this took place. So something like that.
Okay. Moving next. And y'all okay. Yeah, we gotta go to Lauren. Lauren and Mr. Professor Cunningham, if you can mute yourself because we can hear all the yep, just hit the mute till we come back. Yeah. Go. Oh, I don't know. He got sound. We about to find out. And Darren Holloway has entered the room. This is about to be a fun day. This is gonna be a woodwind mess, boy. I tell you. This is gonna be a woodwind. All right.
Hey,
Hey, it's Professor
hey,
Holloway.
everybody. My name is Lauren Cohen. I am
Hey,
okay. So
everybody.
undergrad, I went to North Carolina Central University. Fun fact: Dr. Lamont Longhorn. It's so weird calling you Dr. Longhorn. I've never. He was the percussion instructor, assistant band director when I was marching at NCCU. Hey, Lauren. And let's see. So I got my bachelor's of arts and music, concentration on clarinet, and also my bachelor's in Spanish. Um, I went into the government. I actually didn't pursue music, so mine was just a roundabout journey. Went into the government for about a decade, and then during the pandemic, decided I needed to get back into music and get my master's degree, which is what I did. Went to Morgan State University for my master's in arts and performance on clarinet. Now I've done a whole career change, and I'm happy about it because when you start walking in your purpose, that's when things begin to happen. I work alongside Krystal at the Suitland High School CVPA program as a clarinet adjunct instructor. And I was recently afforded the opportunity of becoming the clarinet and saxophone adjunct professor at Bowie State University. So I come to you with the perspective of being new at being a college professor and teaching lessons on the university level. I've taught lessons in private school, public school, and in music stores. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I'm happy to be here.
And it's real crazy because somebody asked me, why do you have somebody that also like don't you play woodwinds too? I'm like, yes, but kids don't listen to you when you the band director. They listen to the other people more than you. And so I just learned how to throw in the towel and release the power to the people who have the power. All right, we're gonna move to Professor Stephen Cunningham. You gotta unmute.
All right, can y'all hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, can y'all hear me now? Okay, good. I'm Stephen Cunningham, Dr. Stephen Cunningham. I teach at Hampton University. I'm the music education professor, and I also teach applied trumpet. So I'm doing a lot of different things there, teaching a lot of classes, just like everybody else. But that's my primary duties there.
Thank you. And we've just started to become acquainted. I think we got acquainted because you were posting videos for Allstate. And I was like, let me just send this professor this Allstate trumpet music so I could go ahead and make sure. Um
Steve was an all state.
Am I on live?
He
yeah,
performed
we can hear
everybody
you.
on state.
Yeah, you just can't see you like we can see you though.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
I can't hear anything if
His
I'm on.
his sound might be off. I'm a message him. But my trumpet player did get in.
We
So,
can see and hear you. Okay, but why can I hear you all? Okay. If I'm talking, my name is Dyron Holloway, and I'm a professor at Virginia State
thank you.
University, and I teach applied clarinet and saxophone, jazz studies. I'm the jazz band director, as well as some live music, performing arts, performing ensembles, jazz theory,
Ooh,
and yes, I think. Can you hear us? I cannot hear you all for some reason.
okay.
I'm on several different devices, and I heard Cunningham speaking a minute ago, and then it just went out. Log off and come back. Okay, I will.
All right, we'll get um Holloway back in. We did his introduction. We just probably got to come back in and figure out where the sound is. All right. So we've got Virginia State University, the other orange and blue. I'm just gonna say the other. I ain't gonna say I got no hate. Then we got Lauren Cohen, who is at Bowie State University. Woohoo! And then we have Stephen Cunningham, who is at Hampton University. Are you the real HU today? And now we have, she might consider herself an outlier, but I love this type of private instructor. This is Alyssa Gittens. We marched together, we road trip together. Alyssa was a flute music major, and I was a clarinet major. And to be quite honest, we were probably the best in our section when we came in. And that's not capping. That's for our year. Like every year there's some people that come in and they kind of can play a little bit. All right, introduce yourself.
Thanks. So I am an outlier, and I was like, why would Krystal put me last? You should have put me first. What is you doing, girl? But all right. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Giddens. I hail from the wonderful state of New Jersey, a proud graduate of Morgan State University. I am also the owner, proprietor, and all things small business of A&G Music Services. I, of course, specifically focus on flute instruction. I'm a member of Me Fi Me. Hey, hey, all those from the 2000s? No? All right. Womp. And some of my background, most of my work has been either rooted in my private studio or community music programming. So I'm not necessarily in the collegiate space per se, but I am the one trying to send my students and sending my students to your institutions. Um, my backgrounds includes being the director of programs for the musicianship, which is a arts focused after school time and some school time program that focus again specifically in the arts. It was actually co-founded by Jeffrey Tribble, who was a proud graduate of Howard University, and he was. I also am a former instructor at the Otley Music School, which is run by a woman by the name of Neville Otley, who is a incredible resume. You can Google her and figure it out. And I've done some work abroad, particularly in the Caribbean. I am the proud child of Guyanese parents. And so I tend to focus my energies when I can in Guyana and in other parts of the Caribbean. I'm currently in the Caribbean, and my future vision is to one day have a intensive summer music program in Guyana and then eventually spread. So that is a vision that I have. And now that I I mean, all of your company. Maybe one day I will recruit you for some travel and some work. Amen. That is all.
Excuse me, y'all. I've been fighting this cold for like since winter break. It just got me. It just got a hold of me. Hey, you can't catch, the cooties or the COVID from a live stream. Thank God. The day that you can is the day that we're all doomed. Thank you so much. I feel all the love, brother. Um, so we're gonna get into the first question. We have introduced ourselves. Um, I don't know if y'all said y'all degrees like completely. Like I think we skipped that part. All right, real quick, go back around the circle. Uh, Dr. Lawhorn, degrees.
Okay. I think music ed, Prairie View, music performance, masters at Ole Miss, and doctorate is in percussion performance from UNCG.
Lauren Cohen.
Okay. Music performance from North Carolina Central University, Spanish from North Carolina Central University. Those are my bachelor's degrees, and master's degree in music performance from Morgan State University.
Go Bears. All right, Dr. Cunningham.
Um, Music performance, bachelor's from VCU, Virginia Commonwealth, master's and doctorate in performance, master's in jazz studies and doctorate in performance from University of Maryland, College Park.
University of Maryland, go. And Alyssa Gittens. And I think Dr. Holloway, I can see he's still here. Are you here? It says offline to me, but he might be here. All right, Alyssa, I'm going to let you go.
All right. Again, um, Morgan State University, Bachelor's of Music. Womp womp.
Go Bears.
I think
Krystal
you can't
Williams.
answer. I think I got him though. But Holloway is undergrad from FAM. I don't know if it's for music ed. Then he got his master's from in jazz studies from Northern Illinois,
Okay.
and then he got a performance certificate from Juilliard.
Mm, tough degree to get. Shout out to the conservatory, brother. And me, I have a degree in yelling at kids all day and trying to get them to put their fingers in the right place at the right time while reading the music at the right place at the right time. No, I have a master's. I have two master's degrees: music education, curriculum writing is the emphasis, and then conducting. And then I also my bachelor is technically because we don't have music education at Morgan. Everybody's technically a performance major. I need people to understand that when you don't have music education, you had to do junior and senior recitals. You're a performance major. Like that's just what it is. If you went somewhere else, they'd be like, "Oh, you're a performance major." And I didn't learn that until I was teaching at UMBC because our music education majors do not have to do a senior recital or a junior recital. I was like, what? Y'all like don't have to? Nope. Something
That's
comes.
crazy because at Central, everybody had to do a senior recital,
Well,
regardless if you were jazz studies or music
something
education or.
common at PWIs is that the internship, if you have a music education program, is that internship, your student teaching, is technically your practicum, and that's fair. Your time in the classroom is really where you're supposed to be focusing. So
I've,
that's something I've learned.
I've looked at different curriculums, and I believe North Texas, their music ed students do not have to do recitals. One, because their college is so large, but I believe the way their curriculum is set up, you have to do so many performance barriers, and that serves as like your performance proficiency.
Hmm. And that's just one of those things. We're all HBCU grads. That is a common thing. I didn't know until I teach at a PWI. I'm the outlier on the screen. So Alyssa, don't feel bad. I did not know that they don't have to take. I was kind of like, when's your senior recital? The students in my K through 12 internship class, so I'm the one that see them out the door, you know. And that's like we don't have one. I was like, oh, bet. Okay, this is learning curve for me. All right, so we're gonna go to the audition process because this is the time of year where students are auditioning. That's what's happening in my band room is seniors are preparing for auditions. Alyssa is the person that tries to get her students into any of your illustrious universities. And so I think I'm going to start with you first, Alyssa. The question on the floor is, what do you expect students to do in an audition?
I think that's an interesting approach because I'm more so thinking of the experience that I had with not only auditioning for Morgan, but even at one point trying to audition for the U.S. Navy Band and just thinking about other ensembles in the community that I may have participated in. Um, for one, knowing what the audition requirements are, every institution doesn't have the same requirements. So my first thing is like, you need to do your research. The school that you're going to, or have an interest in pursuing, what are their requirements? And sometimes it varies. It's like you need to know all your major minor scales. You need to have two contrasting works. Some I've seen where it's like I want to see something from this particular era and that particular era. Um, and then sight reading is another element that I've seen. And one occasion I might have seen an interview, and this might have been a result of the pandemic. And it also was not a HBCU. It was a PWI in the deep, 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 deep South. So for me, all of those elements I've just listed, that's the first thing I'm assuming that's going to be the requirement. But I do force my students to do the research and then bring it back to me. So one, that I know that they're informed, and just getting them in the habit of taking initiative. Because once you get to a university setting, no one's holding your hand, and you're not about to embarrass me outside in these streets. So I'm gonna need you to come prepared and correct and walk in telling folks that you know what you know. So essentially all those elements that I've mentioned are the things that I make sure my students prepare for those who are going to pursue music as a major, but even those who are like, I'm going to study biology, but I do want to keep music as an aspect of my life and I want to participate in an ensemble. So even for those students who are not majoring, I'm always making sure that, hey, you're not a music major and you're not a priority. However, when you walk in, folks need to understand that you can contribute to this organization. And as a result, they need to be clear and there should be no question about the caliber of your ability.
And I think for me and Alyssa probably kind of are in the same type of alignment because one, I have one of her students now. Jessica, to give a little bit shout out to you, the student I have now in my program is a freshman who made second chair in all district. So that private instructor before we get to these professors matters a lot. And I think not enough of our kids take lessons. Yeah, there's some financial barriers, but there are also cultural barriers.
Mhm.
Why our families don't always invest into this. They will pay $800 for basketball camp. They will pay $800 for a modeling club. And I sometimes, in my mind, I'm like, let's be realistic. Your child ain't that cute. And that's just, like, we like, so why do you think you got $800 in modeling club? Does she have the look? We know what a look is, right? But when it comes to, like I just said, the kind of bills home today about people who haven't paid their band fees. They got sweatsuits. They eat Chick-fil-A after concerts. I'm serious. Like, I don't feed them just like pizza and French fry. Like, they get like quality food because one, my son's in the program, but secondly, these are people's children. Like, I'm not gonna give you garbage if I don't give my child garbage. And today that's like $125. I was like, $75 is for Hershey Park. That park ticket ain't gonna pay for itself, y'all, right? Even posted, you can fundraise still. But when it comes to private instruction, it's like, so the specialty in my program is we have in-house adjuncts. It's a special program. A lot of people like, oh, that's why your band can play. Well, disclaimer, I didn't have no adjuncts when I got us to States, and I ain't have no adjuncts when I was posting all those videos. None, zero. It was me as the adjunct. So Shout out to you all who work on the high school level. Um, Professor Dr. Stephen Cunningham, what do you expect students to do in an audition? What do you expect for them to come in? Not what happens. We're gonna talk about what happens, but what do you expect?
In a dream world, I expect to know their major scales, have a can sight read at a decent level. Um, Maybe some minor scales is cool. Just depends on where they come from and how serious they are on their instrument. Um, but at least that, and for me, it's all about tone and like what they sound like, what they've been listening to, and what their ethic is. Because we can get somebody who's very talented, but they don't work hard, and they just phase out in the first semester.
Mhm.
So it's what's the point of that? Um, but yeah, in a dream world, that's what I would like to hear, and just somebody I don't have to tell, hey, you need to go practice. Especially at this age.
That part right there, that we should not in college have to tell you to practice. Um, Professor Cohen, what do you expect? You're a I call you a bridge gapper because
I was just about to say I'm on both sides of that table, so I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just thinking like I'm on both sides. So I am a private lesson instructor K through 12 because I do teach some students in middle school and elementary school and mainly high school, and I'm on the university level. So from one side to the other, what I would expect from an audition. First of all, on the high school level, I ask my students what do they want to major in. What do they want to major in? If it's music, okay. Um, what type of music? Music performance, jazz, or what music technology. If it's performance, then we go into the conversation of who do you want to study under.
mm,
You have to research. It's not just about the schools because I see a lot of conversation about HBCU bands versus PWI bands and music majors, but I think this is I think it's a very narrow point of view, especially when you're a performance major. So you have to, and this, I'm saying this because I'm talking to the Lauren that's 15 years old. So I'm talking to myself too, what I should have gotten. Okay, who do you want to study under? Why do you want to study under them? So that's it. It's important to open them up to different types of professors, especially on your instrument and on their instrument. Um, because you have to network with them. You might need to network with some of these people, or at least read up on their biography. Um, Also, I wrote some stuff down. What are you trying to get out of the audition? Do you want to be a music major? Do you want to get a band scholarship? You know, um, it's just simple questions. Well, not simple questions, but questions that I would ask them. Like I did with a couple of my seniors now. Okay, well, go to this college. They have your major for that, and they have a good program, or they have this person that specializes in your instrument in your area. You should do a free lesson with ask them for a free lesson. On the college level, what I am hoping for all 12 major scales. I'm hoping for at least one piece. I went to a college fair in Northern Virginia at the request of the band director, the assistant band director at Bowie State University. Shout out to Professor Michael Simmons. Um, and I did an audition, and there was a young man that auditioned on, was it Cold Hearted Snake? He auditioned on a marching band tune, and it's not his fault. He was a nice young man. His mom was nice. He's a very intelligent young man. He actually made all district. Um, so he's a good flute player, but what he auditioned on, it didn't match the caliber of musician that he actually is. So I expect some either, for example, if it's clarinet, if you know anything about clarinet, maybe part of a rose etude or at least selected studies. It doesn't have to be a rose etude, but for everybody, it could be selected studies. For brass players, arbans, if they're getting private lessons. If they're not getting private lessons, then those types of things, the rubric books, just something short and technical and something short and lyrical. So that's at least what I hope to get from an audition on the college level.
That's what you hope to get. We'll get to what you might get. I think you said a very important statement, Professor Cohen, is that it doesn't have to be long. Sometimes, like especially in a program kind of like my program, they're trying to play like a grade 7. And yes, I said 7. Like, if you don't put that away, because what's the reality of you playing this whole piece cleanly? Unless you're a virtuoso. And I've had a few that are like, okay, they just got the juice. But I say play something that's going to present well. Like, it don't have to be long. It could be too short. Most standard is contrasting, right? Contrasting, etude, contrasting. If you do a solo, it might already have the contrasting sections in it. Like if you do multi-movement, do movement 1, movement 2. I've had to pump the brakes on some people sometimes, because I think from my perspective, sometimes my kids try to be over prepared and they're like cook themselves, and then they get to the audition and they basically bomb out because they tried to do too much. That's my little spiel. Um, Tag, you're it. Whoever puts their finger up first. Oh, don't sit here and think too long.
Well, I was going to say this. I was just thinking back. So, on my experience, so going to New Jersey public schools, I grew up in a town that was not very diverse at all. Um, and oftentimes was met with the impression that I was going to be an underperformer and ended up outperforming everyone because what you're not going to do is underestimate me. But I say that to say I showed up to my audition with Dr. Miles and performed the excerpt from the William Tell Overture for band. And so as I think about my experience and what I try to instill in my students, I did not get private lessons. Again, I told you I'm the child of immigrants. This was not something they experienced in their learning. They were not musicians. If they participated in extracurricular activities, they come from a different generation, a different culture, a different country, different laws. They could not help me in any way. And then again, being a student of color in a non-diverse community, there weren't many folks reaching out or providing resources to me. So I just did what I knew how to do. And one thing that I wish I saw more of, and again, I understand the limitations. Institutions that are looking for students from, whether it's from predominantly Black communities, diverse communities, wherever, I don't care, the North, South, in between, West Coast, wherever, that we could get more outreach into schools so that these students can understand the vastness of this thing we call music and the pursuit of whether it's music education, music performance. I want to be a producer, I want to be a composer, whatever it is, because I didn't have any access to that information. Now, granted, my school, it was I think they call it a Division 2 because it's a smaller school, but 80% of our students were involved in extracurriculars, and a lot of them were involved in band. So I had a thriving music program at my school that was not a arts-based school. And so I lucked up because the individuals at my school that were the educators, they were highly qualified and had a lot of student engagement involvement. And that meant there's some, lateral communications happening with like seniors coming down to freshmen. It's like, yeah, I just did my audition. So I'm learning by conversation what the expectations are out in the world. And so part of this thing of our students being able to go out into your institutions prepared, part of it is what school are they coming from? What assets, resources do they have or not have? Particularly for HBCUs. We've seen a boom and an uptick in enrollment now, so you're getting a more diverse group of students coming to your institutions. But for the most part, historically, it's been students from mostly predominantly Black neighborhoods. And so with that, depending on the neighborhood. It may come with resources. It may come with a director that graduated from an HBCU. It may not. There's a lot of gaps in information or access to information that can prepare our students to come into your institutions. And so I say that to say, I don't know how, if there's more ways of doing it, if we need to be more virtual, if your budget and personnel, your manpower allows you to physically go out in the community. But I feel like our institutions musically could be even more productive and excel in the quality of students coming out if the outreach was done before they got there so that these students know what they're going into.
Outreach. Um, it's weird
And I
because
understand access, resources, personnel,
you
manpower,
know what's so crazy?
all
At
that.
PWIs, they do not recruit. And that has been the biggest culture shock to me working at UMBC. They don't they don't recruit. Y'all hear that? Let me put my microphone was over there. They don't recruit at all. They don't recruit. Kids just come. If they got a gap in a section, it's just a gap. And they just keep moving on from there. And that's been the last 4 years. I've been at UMBC 4 years. I've never seen an outreach. I try to kind of ask, like when I do honor band stuff, I was like, hey, I'm a professor at UMBC. And they're like, oh, great. I'm looking at that school and I'm interested. And I've already set up an interview or a shadow day. And I'm like, why we don't have that going on like that? I don't know, y'all. I don't work at a HBCU, but it's just a different tone, and it's not always skin color, y'all. Because when I do honor bands, often it's a room of kids that kind of look like me for the most part. Well, sometimes not, but I'm like, so what is the expectation difference between a kid that looks like me that's in honor band that says I've already done these things and yeah, I already worked on that versus like sometimes when I wasn't at the school I was at, it was like pulling teeth. Um, I think you make a good point, and we'll probably tabernacle on that a little bit more. I have a question so we've talked about what we expect. Now, this is an off the cuff question. It's called Not Prepared. I wish students auditioning didn't do this blank. Okay? So this is the time. This is an off the cuff. I wish they didn't do this. Insert the blank in. Feel free to tabernacle
All
on
right. How much time do we have?
that. Okay, I'm gonna limit you to like 2 minutes.
No, it's not gonna be. It's gonna be more than 2 minutes. It's not gonna go on a full tangent, but because I didn't talk about percussion auditions. Uh,
Okay.
so for me, what I expect a music major to know if they're anticipating to study music, I would prefer that they know the 40 basic rudiments, like know them. If I call one, don't be like, oh, oh, this is one of the things. Can you play it for me? Like, no, you should know this. Like, play a flam accent. Oh, I don't know that one. Can you play it for me? Like, no, you should know this. You should know your 40 basic rudiments. I'm not asking you to play any hybrids. 40 basic rudiments, please. I would ask that you have a snare piece prepared. It could be an etude, all district etude, all county etude, or whatever. A prepared piece, something that's actually written out that showcases rhythmic notation, rolls, diddles, whatever it is that you're choosing to play. I would prefer that you know your major scales on keyboard, on mallets, and know them, not necessarily in a circle of fifths, because I'm not going to call them a circle of fifths. I might not even call all of them. I'm just going to say, play A major, play uh, F sharp, play B flat, or play D flat, in different keys or whatever, and to know
That's
them.
known.
No,
That's just known.
I would if you're playing two octaves and arpeggios, fantastic. Right. I'm not really that pressed on timpani because a lot of times students are going to come in with immature timpani skills. Like you know how to bang on them, but you don't have correct technique producing good tones. So I'm not necessarily truly pressed on that. I'm not pressed. If you have mallet skills, if you have a mallet solo, like a solo, it can be an excerpt, it can be something from all county, all district. a prepared piece. It doesn't have to be four mallets. Now, if you're playing four mallets, that's a different conversation. But two mallet piece that you can show that you're aware of what the instrument is. Um, and sight reading on both snare and keyboard. Now, that's if you're going to be a music major. If you're planning to be on the drum line or whatever, then those would be different. I would ask for more drumline specific things, such as hybrid rudiments if you play snare, or multi tenor if you play um, whatever. I would add if you're not going to be a music major and you're just auditioning for the drum line, then that would be something totally different. It would be good if you had aspirations to be in like percussion ensemble, because then I would say, okay, well, do you know any of these other skills like the other audition requirements? Because then that's because those audition skills are going to be transferred to percussion ensemble. But if you're not a music major, then that. What I would really like to stop happening is students just fully not aware of what it takes to be a music major. Too many students come to the audition and they say, "Oh, I don't know that," such as a rudiment. "Oh, you can't play your scales." "Oh, I don't know that." "Okay, can you sight read?" I, I don't, I don't. We really had to do that at my school. So then that puts me in a situation. It's like, do I knock the student because they don't know, or is it the director's fault that they come from because they didn't properly instruct their percussion students? And it kind of puts you in a bad situation because you're like, oh man, I really wish the best for you, but what we're doing here, you're not going to be successful. Like in my curriculum at VSU, I've even put in place like some deficient stuff. Like, okay, you don't know B, E, scales. That may be a little tough. You don't have a full, you're playing on the notes, you're not producing good tones on keyboard, or your buzz rolls are a little bad, you know what I mean? Or your singles aren't that fast. Okay, cool. When you get here, you're going to be deficient in the curriculum, and then we're going to get you to where you need to be. But if you just don't know nothing, you come to the audition, and I got to give you the mallets for you to audition on because you don't even have mallets. Like, yeah, we got to stop doing that. We really got to stop doing that and thinking that the student is going to be successful as a music major. Now, if they want to be on the drum line, that's bad too. I'm saying that's bad too because students should know how to read music or play whatever it is they need to play. But if a student is going to be a music major, they need to be fully aware of what they're getting themselves into, and to be properly prepared to audition, have the materials, have the sticks, mallets, music, all of that good stuff. That was more than 2 minutes, but that's
No,
my
you good. I knew you were gonna go. That's one. But because you're a percussionist, and you're a true percussionist, and you want percussionists, and to me, I agree 100% with you. It also starts with the language. Got to stop calling them drummers. Got to start. Every time a middle schooler would say it, I would correct them. Nope, you're not a drummer. I don't have drummers.
Yeah,
But
and I had to understand this too and I try to get students to stop doing that as well because I'm like, well, what instrument do you play? I play bass too.
play snare.
I'm
Play
like,
snare.
what's bass too? Yeah, what you play? Yeah, I mean, I'm a drums. I play drums. Okay, you're auditioning for a part on the drum line. Like, what instrument do you play on the drum line? Oh, okay, I play snare. Oh, okay. Oh no, I play everything.
Now I do have a question for you, but and I'm not going to don't tabernacle on this too long. Just give me a straight answer. I inherited, I've this is now the fourth program I've inherited, which means what I have is what I have, and you are going to have seniors and upperclassmen that, like in some cases, I have kids that's like I've been playing for 6 years like this, and I've got 9 months, 8 months. Seniors really 7. I got 7 months to try to undo this, whatever this is. Um, and this is the first time I've had percussionists that did not know rudiments at all, but could smack a mallet like, but not better than some of my beginners who also knew rudiments and played mallets, and trying to get them to play rudiments and battery like as a percussionist, The skills are just not, it's just too much time gone. This is what I do. I say, don't go to a school with a marching band program that you want to get scholarship money behind. And like, I be real, because I've had, my first group, I've said, hey, kid, he was like, oh, we were supposed to memorize rudiments. And I was like, this is not my fault. I can't own that. Like, I don't care if you think the band director owns. I can't own a kid that I've only had for 6 months and they've gone 6 years not knowing. You just can't change. This is a conversation me and Lauren have all the time. I have to sometimes say to her, I said, that's not your kid yet. And it's real. It's not your kid yet. But when they do, like, I know everybody. That's what I first tell them. I say, you're not going to bypass me. If you on this coast, maybe I might be batting about knowing 75% of the band directors in the country. Do not go out there and say, Miss Williams, my band director. Put some information on that. I had you for 6 months and you refused to learn malice. You refused to change your embouchure. And if I kind of pregame it like, what school you audition at? And I'll send a message. I'll be like, listen, they don't know no rudiments. They don't know no rudiments. Their parent don't think they need to know any rudiments. I'm the new person that don't know what they're doing right now. Whatever you score them as, score them, not me. That's all I'm saying. Score them, not me. But we do have a follow-up question to this. What do you actually get? I'm gonna move this down to Dr. Holloway. Can you hear us? I feel like you got Quan's Wi-Fi. I don't think so.
Quan.
Got Quan's Wi-Fi. It happened every
The
show.
curse of Quan.
The curse of Quan. We actually have a curse of Quan. He's a band director. Every time he get on the show,
Quan is my little brother, so I know exactly.
hey, damn, Quan, why can't nothing be right for you? He says the most profound stuff too. I'm gonna go to the lady, Dr. Cohen. Jewish name. You sound like a real.
Good night.
Ooh.
She took got
Thank you
Jewish.
for the promotion.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we answering the next question, or what is the question?
What do you actually get? Now, you can speak from two different levels. I promise you, I will not judge anything you say because I know the truth.
So I've only been doing this for a semester, guys. So bear with me. At the same college fair I went to, there was a young man who was from a performing arts school on saxophone. I said, okay. I said, do you have a technical piece or a lyrical piece or two? I said two contrasting pieces. He said, what's that? I said, oh, okay. I said he goes to a performing arts high school, not a program within the high school. The high school is a performing arts school, very well known. Will not say their name, but I said, do you have a slow piece that shows your musical expression, and do you have and do you have a kind of a faster upbeat piece that shows your technical ability on saxophone? And he said, nope, but I have this he had a recording, he had a background recording that he was just ad libbing to, so I allowed him to do that, and that was it. We didn't do any scales. He's a senior in high school from a well-known performing arts high school, and yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how you spent 4 years at the school. I don't know how long you spent at the school, but I'm assuming 4 years at the school, this performing arts high school. You're supposed to get private lessons. You're supposed to do, certain things in order to prepare you for college, and you want to be a music major, and you don't know what two contrasting pieces are. We didn't do any scales. So that's from my short experience, from my limited experience, that's what I got.
I got a answer, rebuttal, something. I don't know what this is. One thing I want us to talk about, because I think we mention it, but we don't really pay attention to the fact about what COVID-19 did to education for students.
Whew.
And I have worked with professors in collegiate settings in talking about recruitment and all that other stuff specifically for arts majors, but even more so for music majors. The learning loss that happened. Forget music. Take the arts out of it because folks in their budgets every year are cutting out the arts any which way. But in primary schools and wherever else, secondary, we really have to have this conversation about the learning loss that happened. Band could not happen online for a band director in high school, at the middle school level, at the beginner elementary school level. Like, I don't know how folks did it or if they were even what happened. Now, keep in mind, I got stuck in Georgia during the pandemic, and Georgia was all the way open. So nothing changed in certain states. But places like New Jersey, Pennsylvania,
Marilyn,
oh my God, my God, my God. School was shut down all the way.
three
And so
years, full years.
and so you all right now, this conversation about like I wish students didn't come with this or I wish students had this skill, you are now feeling the outcomes, the brunt of what COVID-19 did. What I did not mention to you all is what my role is, my 9 to 5. I am a full-time advocate for arts education with a nonprofit here in Maryland. And we focus on K through 12 as far as making sure that educators, admins, superintendents know what the law is as it relates to making sure arts education is accessible to students K through 12. And there are districts where they are absolutely not following the law. Like the law is being broken. You're in Maryland, every student K through 12, K through 5, you're supposed to have at least 2 years of an arts experience. But 6 through 12, they're supposed to have access to arts programming every year in every single discipline. And there are schools that are not meeting that requirement. And that's Maryland. I don't know what's going on in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Idaho, wherever you get your students from. And so, from the aspect of legally, there are schools who just don't offer what they're supposed to legally. And then, on top of the fact, programs got lost because funding got lost because COVID happened. And you have directors are now trying to rebuild programs with students who lost years of learning. I witnessed it
Ooh,
with my own eyes.
I have a rebuttal for that too. Oh, Stephen had his hand up. I'm sorry, Stephen.
Yep.
And I'll be real brief. I let me watch how I say this. This the COVID-19 pandemic, because I taught high school at towards the end of it for 2 years. Coming from higher ed, so I had like kind of both sides of it. Like grooming a high schooler who's a 12th grader who can't play grade one piece. You know what I mean? And it really challenges professors to can you teach, can you point blank teach,
Flat out.
no matter what grade level it is, can you teach?
Mhm.
Man,
And a
look,
lot of
I
people are struggling with that.
look, I have a response for both Alyssa. Alyssa, it wasn't a rebuttal; it was actually agreement because when we're talking about trends, you have to look at the bigger schools, the conservatories, because they're feeling it too. The
Mhm.
conservatories are feeling it. We have a conservatory here; they're offering full scholarships now. Like, what conservatory offers a full scholarship? None of them. They're like hand over fist trying to get students.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say no matter the level, but enough to try to make the numbers in their school in their program. So yeah, that COVID-19 trend is not just a K through 12 issue. It's a
Mhm.
college issue. It is for the arts. It's a conservatory issue in all areas of art. Um, to what Stephen was saying, I had a student this past semester. I just had to bring a method book. I brought a method book, and what you were saying is so true. Is like, can you teach? Like, forget about the advanced degrees that you have. Forget about the work that you did to get to that point. How can I be of service to the student? What do I need to be for the student? And I knew for this young man, I had to go back to the basics. I gave him one. He's a music major on saxophone. I gave him one piece to see if he could kind of read through it. He didn't understand basic things like 16th notes, so I gave him an etude um with eighth notes from the concert of contest for saxophone. And but the eighth notes were syncopated, and he didn't even understand the syncopation of it. Like you have to come in on and instead of one. So we went back to the method book to discuss eighth notes. So yeah, Stephen, to your point, it like it goes to show, can you really teach, and what are you really, and not even just teach, are you willing to let go of your ego? As a college professors now, and I'm talking about in all areas of all studies, it's like we're high school teachers now. We're high school teachers, we're shoot, sometimes middle school teachers. That method book is elementary school method book. So yeah, to your point, yeah, I completely agree with both of you.
I could have shouted and threw my shoe at you if you were in the same room with me. Because that ego thing, listen,
I don't know.
I'm without exposing identities. I had to sit in a meeting with professors, arts discipline professors,
I
who
know what you're talking about. Listen,
were
don't worry.
angry about
No.
going online during the pandemic. And what I was hearing, it wasn't anger of like, why I gotta go online. What I was hearing was, I don't know what to do. And the university is not giving me any tools, any professional development to be able to figure out this circumstance. And so now you want to have me trying to figure this out, and I'm comfortable with my cushy job as a professor, just showing up and
Yeah,
doing
there's
things.
no such thing as college professors. Everybody's an educator. You have to be an educator.
Now, the next layer of this,
Yeah.
crediting bodies and the standards and the rubric from the high school, state level for education to the transition into collegiate level. What adjustments are we making? Is anyone advocating that we have to rethink this? Because hello, we just lost 4 years of learning across every subject area. We talk about basic math, reading, science, arithmetics, language, whatever. And I'm gonna add the arts on top of this, which is going to challenge your ability to do basic subjects or expose your ability, whether or not you can do basic subjects. So the level of interconnection between the transition from high school into college is intense. And I don't feel like, and I can see it in the state of Maryland, there is an absolute gap disconnect. There is no connection between the expectations from high school to college, and then with the advent of the pandemic,
Hmm.
the what is the thing that we're all implementing to make sure we're creating this pipeline or implementing some type of uh, program to address the learning loss that happened. Like everyone just went back to business as usual. Even the nonsense of having students play instruments with masks in class. I get it, you want them to play, but also I'm like, we got to figure out some alternative until we can get back to a safety procedure so students can practice. I felt bad for y'all having to teach band with all that spinning condensation falling out post pandemic.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question. It came back down to what Steve was talking about. Like, can you teach? And I get, you can say COVID, but even before COVID, like just students, a lot of students just musically are not prepared when they enter into college. And you can say, and I say this often, like, music is the only discipline to where you have to know what you're doing when you come there day one. Like if you're going to be a business major, they'll show you whatever intro to marketing. You go to whatever engineering, they teach you basic level. You got to have your math score, whatever. But music, you have to know your instrument prior to. But students just fully aren't developed as they used to be. Had a conversation with my student. I was like, when did you like start playing? He was like, I didn't get into band until I was 11th grade. It's like,
Mhm.
wait a minute. So you're a freshman. So you've only had 2 years of music experience, and who knows the quality of that musical experience before you got here. Whereas I was in band since sixth grade. So sixth grade, that was 6 years of experience before I became a music student. So how much more mature mentally am I, ready to practice or ready to understand music notation or whatever? And yes, we have music fundamentals, and I've taught music fundamentals, and it's like 5 lines, 4 spaces, all
Yep.
kind of eat grass. But as a music student, like if your basic introduction is at such a low level, then what is your peak in 4 years? Right? If I say, oh, I would love for students to come in with 4 mallet experience, boom, that'd be great. But if I'm teaching them this is a mallet, how, like, what we doing here? And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Just
Um,
like I just wanted to I was asking for advice. I said, I think part of our job too is like, baby, you ain't got it. And I really wanted to say that. Like, because they're adults now and you don't want them to pay all this tuition for what? For what? It's like, what are you getting out of this if you don't? You're right. Like, we've been playing since we were 10 years old and we come in,
11.
knowing, you know, at least our instrument and some scales and stuff. We have to have experience. I remember the movie Fame. The art teacher was like, "Art is the hardest there is." The dance teacher was like, "Dance is the hardest in the world." And music teacher was like, "Music is the hardest of them all." So if I am and like I'm imploring because I'm back and forth in my head, wanted to have this conversation. Like, is this what you really want? And I feel like I would be doing the disservice if this is what they want. That I'll keep teaching, but if this, if they don't have it, I'm doing them a disservice by entertaining it.
and I'll say it really quick. I'm sorry. This is what I tell on that level. This is what I tell the students verbatim. You don't have to get a degree in music to be successful. But if you are going to get a degree in music, this is what you have to do.
To be
So this
successful.
is your choice.
Yeah.
If you may not you may just want to just be a world famous snare drummer. Okay, cool. That's fine. Cool. Go get your YouTube page, get your views up. But if you're gonna be here, yes, you have to learn how to play a keyboard instrument, or understand what it's like, what muting a vibe is, or the right ride technique. Like you have to learn these things in this curriculum that we have set up. Now, I'm not gonna say you got to learn all these orchestral excerpts. No, what for? You want to play drums, but
Right.
you have to learn these basic foundational things as a music major, as a percussion student.
I'm gonna go to Stephen. Your hand. Dr. Holloway, can you hear us? Ah,
Dang.
cons,
Looks like he could. He just trying to
Yeah, we
find
can see a move now.
yeah, he's moving now. Nothing.
Is
Can you
someone
hear?
asking me to, because I got a lag and I can't hear Crystal at all, so I don't know when it's my
You can't
turn
hear me. I'm gonna speak in the phone like I
to
work at
speak.
McDonald's.
Can you hear anybody? I hear everybody else except when Crystal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Are you muted when we're
Yeah,
talking?
and then I'm sorry. It's like I've been mute this whole time, going through three different devices. Um, yeah, so I'm co-signing with
I see
everyone. I've had the fortune of being in environments where students were prepared, and then we're trying to get them to the next level of development. Um, I was fortunate to teach at a middle school, performing arts school, where I felt we were deficient because we were somewhat in the hood. But we fed into Dillard Center for the Arts, if you know Dillard's phenomenal program. Christopher Dorsey, I was his feeder pattern, and we had a stick for a while. My middle school students, they would continue on at the high school level and go on to play on the national stage. And then, there were questions: how do we get to that level where we can compete with the Caucasian schools around that have all the funding and all the money. But there's something innate about our students. They have that church sense of playing, that spiritual thing that just happens, it comes out. And then it's how do we augment that with techniques that'll prepare them for you know, conservatories. Many of my students have gone on to Juilliard or Oberlin, other schools. So, you know, we talk about some of the bad things that we have heard over the years, and then I think about some of the good times. The students who have excelled and going on all across the world. And then what are you going to do after that? How are you going to sustain and have a career post your studies? You know, after I finished Juilliard, I'm like, man, what do and students are trying to figure out how do I live and how do I uh, struggle and then keep my sanity as a musician, and then go out and then find out that some of these students can't play a chromatic scale. And that's one of the things that I really want to make sure that students are prepared all throughout their full range of their instruments, chromatic in the various zones of the clarinet, being able to play your L's and your R's, knowing how to maneuver through the instrument, the upper tessiture of every instrument, making sure that we're proficient throughout the full range of the instrument. When you come in, many times students just in Florida, we have, and they'll come in, you know, just learning that one register because that was the band version, and then you have to do the whole register of playing throughout the full range of the instrument. So I won't try to talk too long. Krystal, I see you waving your hand, but if anybody else could say something so I know when I'm
Um,
doing too much. But my thing is making sure students have full command of their instruments when they get here. You know, many times you're halfway there because you learned that universal concept in the band programs where you know this the homogenous teaching that was going on. But when we get in an individual setting, how do we work on different nuances? And if you can play that low B flat very soft on a saxophone, that's like really unheard of sometimes. Can you meld your sounds in with the French horns in a symphonic setting, or in the clarinet where you can mask those sounds, because that, you know, it can obliterate the whole environment from a saxophone perspective. And then more of the chamber ensembles, making sure that they're performing in small settings and then larger ensemble settings, so that you can hear different ways for the musician that you know you're trying to be. But ultimately, we want the best. We want all our students to be a reflection of us, but we're struggling a lot, and yeah, it is what it is. So if anybody could say anything, let me
Steve
know if
Cunningham.
I'm
Uh,
I
okay.
know he can't hear us. Stephen, you just
I
got to
hear
unmute
something.
because he can't hear me. So you just talk. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. And echoing off of that, like m- professors, we this gonna be controversial.
Okay.
We got to do more in the community,
Yep.
and you know, since being at Hampton, and I did the same thing at Grambling State. Like, man, I went out to the schools. Like, I wanted it to be the point that, okay, I'm not coming to your school to just recruit. I really care about your kids, like, doing well. Like,
Mm.
if whatever school they end up choosing to go to, that's their decision. Like, I see you have issues with your trumpet players. Let me help them. You know what I mean? It's a community. It shouldn't be no, oh, he has a blue jacket on. He's about to go to a Norfolk State band room. You know what I mean? Because their director went to a rival school. It's not about that, you know? So that's what I've been focusing on a lot here in the 757, and just, and I want to get up, in the DC, Maryland area as well. I lived there for 5 years. and it's just you see all different kinds of experiences in the band rooms. And even when I was at Grambling, I went to band rooms in Louisiana, and they just like one school was really great. They cared about everything. You can tell the director cared about their kids' education. And then you go down the street and it's a completely different thing. And it was sad. Like I'm
Mhm.
seeing instruments all over the floor, and we coming in there with our uniforms on, backpacks and everything, and we seeing that. Like that was embarrassing.
I feel like there's two conversations that could be had just from that sentiment. The first conversation is what are HBCUs, specifically, what are our role in supporting that pipeline from high school or even starting at middle school to the university, because we need to be feeding ourselves. Because I can only imagine, I know Morgan had its challenges with funding and, having to go to like the Supreme Court about
Mhm.
unfair funding with other state schools. So I can only imagine what's happening in other parts of the country. And navigating being either understaffed, undersourced, and trying to be a resource in the community to feed itself. But then the next conversation about, yes, we want to be a resource to the community, but what elements of philosophy around the elitism around being a music major at the university level, and how we approach our philosophies and thoughts about who should be following through to become a music major, who we are the gatekeepers, or y'all are the gatekeepers, because I don't teach at a university. You are the gatekeepers. And so, like, what are your personal philosophies around that, and how does that impact recruitment, enrollment, outreach? Like, two different conversations, but interrelated, and impact your outcomes.
All right. So, how can we feed
Hmm.
ourselves
I like this conversation.
when? How can we feed ourselves when students aren't eating?
Mm.
Meaning, how can we, as HBCUs, like in the community, right? How can we say a student is going to come through our music program, graduate, and be able to give the next generation proper instruction, technique, holistic approach to music, holistic experience in music, when they aren't getting that at HBCUs? So
Mm.
how can I say, oh, uh, yeah, I want the student to graduate and go teach, go be a band director as a percussionist, right? Because there are a lot of percussion band directors, but all they know is just the drum line. There's no percussion ensemble at your program, at your school. There's no wind ensemble at your school. So as a percussionist, how are you going to even get any pedagogy from any wind instruments? As the applied instructors, you don't know. You don't some schools don't even have adequate applied instructors for principal instruments. So how can a percussionist take brass methods when there's no high brass professor? Or how can they take brass methods and low brass and there's no low brass professor? So how can we feed ourselves when one or students one of the university isn't fully staffing their department, and two, students just say, "Oh, I ain't interested in that. I don't want to do that. I
Can I
made,
chime
I
in
made,
here?
yeah,
What?
I majored in something else, and then when I graduate, oh, I'm gonna go work at this school. And you have no experience as a music student, so yeah, yeah.
The to me, from all perspectives, because I might be the only one. Anybody still teaching public school? Okay, I think I'm the yeah, but I think I'm the only one that also teaches pedagogy classes. I see the interns out the door. I am the first and the last person in UMBC. They see me with the exception of the associate director. I see all the instrumental music majors as soon as they hit the door, and I see them on the way out the door. I probably have the most influence outside of a band director on their pathway in music education. I guarantee if I asked all of you that teach college what your method courses look like, because the kink in the chain actually starts with the music majors in school now. To me, it's like the chicken or the egg. Well, it starts with the who begots who, like biblically. Who begots who? If I am in college right now and I didn't have private lessons and I didn't have a band director that went above and beyond, and I call myself above and beyond people. I teach in District Heights. District Heights is not, it is far from Accokeek, Maryland, where I'm from. And if you're from Maryland, you know the difference. I'm from privileged Black community. It's the rich, one of the richest Black counties in America. It's number 2. And I'm from right on that line. If I teach in District Heights, Maryland, where kids do not want to go to my school, Magnet and all, Alyssa knows, they don't want to come to my school. They had a shootout at my school.
Yeah, I had a student. I was advocating for my student to go to your school, and the mama was like, "Yeah, no, my son will die or get lost."
That's how they see where I work. If they can go in and play scales in an audition and not play Cold Hearted Snake, and it does start with, though, who begots who. If you are in undergrad and unfortunately your method course is all the instruments packed into one course, let me tell you what I get to teach. I have basic woodwind, which is which is saxophone, clarinet, and saxophone exclusively. That's what I do in semester 1. Then they have to pass that class to go to semester 2, woodwind, intermediate woodwind, which is what? Flute and double reeds exclusively for a semester. I don't know any HBCU that you get a full year of woodwind and it gets better. And then they see me again in brass methods. And guess what? They get a semester of trumpet, baritone, tuba, the valve instruments packed together. That's how we wrote the curriculum. And then we go to we go to exclusively French horn and trombone because they're the outliers, right? They have 2 years of method courses before they're even a junior. They come in the door into method courses. And then part of my class, they have a mandatory once a week observation class they go to a school that's in the local district, which is poor. It's Baltimore City schools. It is a underfunded, marginalized community in itself. And they have to spend 3 of their years as college students, 1 day a week in an underfunded, underserved community. And they're not all white kids. We're pretty diverse there. They're not all white. They're not all rich. That kid comes out of college with a better handle on pedagogy. That kid comes out of college. And then they have me for what's called a K through 12 internship course. It is not their student teaching, as I am their advisor for their student teaching. And they come after their student teaching to me at night for a 3-credit course to learn how to do SLOs, everything from SLOs to lesson planning to how to assess and all the pedagogy that I taught. That person is going to come out a rock star. Out of my first cohort, none of them have quit teaching yet. Why? They're just prepared. Preparation. Versus somebody else who comes out of school, they didn't know that they were going to have to do jazz band. They didn't know that they were going to have to do concert band and UIL is mandatory. They didn't know. They might have came from somewhere where the principal encouraged cranking up because it's visible and the band director had to abide by the principal. This is not their fault. They want to keep their job sometimes. And now we've begotten the same problem over and over again. So to me, the kink in the chain is the entire chain. If we don't reach down to high school, middle school, come off our almighty diadems and say, hey, let me come in your class, do a master class for free. Because eventually, if I influence your class enough, I'm going to get at least one kid, and hopefully over time, I'm going to improve your pedagogy. You're going to teach better. That kid's going to get a better experience. They're going to come to the university with a little bit more. They're going to leave the university, become the teacher, and then we start to see something begot. High school directors, overwhelmed. I know I am. But I reach out, but I'm looking at a form where I asked for HBCU recruitment. I got 3 people who filled it out. I'm not a who's who. Somebody made a comment on a post, can they crank? Nah, but they grade 5 musicians. I'm here to tell you, I didn't do a lick of marching band in high school. Not what we would consider like reputable. But I could play my ass off coming in the door, and it only took me 2 weeks before I was out marching everybody. We put too much on the ensemble. That's why I wanted to have this show today. We put too much emphasis on the ensemble for music majors. And then non-music major, Dr. Lawhorn, you said it well. Okay, the criteria shouldn't be as rigorous, but there should be a criteria. But on top of that, we think, I've heard people say, well, will your kids be able to handle march band? I did. Because it's easy to handle something when you know how to play. Like if you can play, you can eliminate the worry about music, the hours, the clock hours you put in it, the physical part. You just put so many hours into marching band anyway. It only takes somebody who's just not very bright to just not get it.
I mean, that answers it right there. Like, I mean, we're all applied professors, so we are performers. So at the end of the day, can you play? Like can you play? That's the outlier. That satisfies all. Like for instance, I've had students who say, "Oh, I've never marched in the HBCU drum line. Like, will I make it? Do you have hands? Ooh, you'll be fine. Like if you, but also as you said, but also I don't recommend students with no marching band experience to play on the drum line. That's different. Not necessarily band. A wind instrument is different. But if you never played a marching snare and all you know is concert rolls, that doesn't translate. But if you come from a program where you may not march the same, but you can play, you produce a good tone, you got the right you got the right mechanics instrumental wise, then all of that can work itself together. As applied professors, we're literally looking for the students that can play because we prepare the entire department for every ensemble. Right? If we have a student that can play, okay, we can place you. For instance, now I'm looking at the percussion list. I'm like, okay, I got 7 students that I can put in wind symphony this semester, and everybody's like, oh, this is a pretty dope list. I'm like, yeah, that is pretty good. I got 7 students that are knowledgeable of concert rolls, proper crashes, muting techniques, all of this stuff, and so now the band director is not like, hey, what's all that going on back there? Like they don't he doesn't have to worry about the percussion section because those students can play. But now what happens if the applied professor uh for an instrument or for percussion is not giving them the right techniques and now they can't play a good concert roll? How does that affect whatever other ensembles that are taking place? So I think as applied professors, we absolutely are taking students that can play, and we're just really trying to make sure that these students are knowledgeable of what it is to be in full command of their instruments.
Can someone be I call it my translator for Dyron? Like what? Because he can't hear me at all. But Lauren, and then Lauren, can you ask Dr. Holloway if he wants to chime in?
So so first, Dyron, I sent you a message asking if you can log into YouTube from another device so you can hear Crystal, so you can hear everybody. So that'll probably be the best course of action. Yeah. Oh boy, that was so much in the last. It was so much. It makes me wonder. And we're talking about being applied professors, and of course, we're all HBCU grads, so we have to discuss, the issues with our music departments, and also the what I want to address is, Alyssa mentioned that HBCUs, they have the highest enrollment in history. A&T has the highest enrollment in history, the biggest HBCU. Morgan State is the third biggest HBCU in the nation, a national treasure. So Um, we have
Gotta pull
now
it up
what
there.
we have a new problem. It's an old problem and it's a new problem at the same time because HBCU bands we've always had walk-ons, right? So we and Morgan said we had a young man on euphonium and he was a walk-on. He said, I went to a white high school and, I wanted to march in the band because I wanted the full HBCU experience. And he worked and he got better. Oh my God. He has a special place in my heart. So I was working with Morgan last year. But we have like a new problem of now there are, I could tell you at Morgan's band now and in Bowie's band, they're requiring their musicians, their non-music majors to take private lessons. So when that happens, it's like what I guess how do I want to say this? Like where do we fit in all this? Because we want to prepare the best musicians and move them to the next level to break the glass ceiling. But now we have other musicians who are there, and I don't want to say it like this, but the HBCU culture is gimmicky right now. So, where do we stand in that as private lessons instructors? I mean, we're still at the end of the day, we still have to teach, but to what end, do we support this? And that's something I wanted to throw out there. Back to what Crystal was saying and what Stephen was saying about reaching into the community. Um, we've been having a little initiative here at Suitland. So the adjunct professors, I know I've been going to, excuse me, our feeder middle schools and other high schools and doing master classes. I just did a master class for a high school in Northern PG, and I think I might be doing one this Wednesday. I have to confirm. So I've been doing master classes for different schools in the PG County area, and I'm in an interesting position because I can actually feed myself because Bowie State is in Prince George's County, Maryland. So I can feed myself from elementary school through college, which is it's a very unique position. But yeah, going back into the community, we our low brass adjuncts they go to the middle school next door and work with their students because some of their students march in our marching band at Suitland. So it's we because at our high school, we want to have a certain brand at our high school, it's going to automatically translate to the college level. It's kind of a quality control type of thing, but also educating not you're not only educating the students, you're educating the parents and you're educating the community on what it is to be a musician, on, not only equipment for your instrument, consumables like reeds and valve oil, um, what it takes to be a traveling band, marching bands. We travel. It's like being on tour. We have a commercial band now at Suitland, so there's going to be a band that gigs around the area. So just
And it's
helping
not in
them.
the curriculum.
Hello?
It's not
Yeah,
in the curriculum. I'm just
it's
saying
not.
that when they come up with an idea and I stay after school and deal with it.
Yeah. So it is giving back to your community and you have to educate a multitude of people. Yeah, educated parents. The middle school band director next door asked me to speak to one of the saxophone players' mom because he is new on saxophone and he's been sick and mom is just convinced that the saxophone is making him sick. I said, did she change the reed? Yes, she changed the reed. How old is the saxophone? Saxophone is new out the box. So now she was like, you're a college professor now, so she'll listen to you. Just so that's what I mean. We have to educate the community on instrument on music itself, not even just band, not even a certain type of band or ensemble, just music altogether.
And to tag on that, we also are educating. The first thing I realized, if I wanted better
Am
musicians,
I? Are you speaking, Crystal?
yeah,
Mm.
tell him that I'm speaking. No, he can't. Yes,
Yeah,
he
he's
said,
she's
yeah,
speaking.
yeah, thank you.
Oh,
You
okay.
gotta be. Just real quick, we have to educate the band directors too below us, and that's sensitive in our community. That's real sensitive because we kind of get this high horse, like you can't tell me shit. I'm just gonna say this is my show. You can't tell me shit. You can I'm like, but you see how I play, right? You think I don't know anything? Like I'm not terrible. I'm not like the greatest clarinet player on earth. That's Dr. Holloway on the screen right now. But like I could get a good gig. Like, and they just what you got to tell me. So we part of that kind of kink in the chain was me realizing I have to teach the band director in a non-confrontational way, which is hard sometimes because you'll see something like your band room dirty. I ain't learning in here. Your band room dirty. Kids got the same read all year, and it's not because you ain't got reads. Like, what kind of workshops are you going on yourself? What professional development are you going on if you ain't gonna, if you ain't gonna know that they need to change the read? And I have to teach my colleagues. And that's not saying that I think I'm great, because guess what? College band directors teach me, and I'm fine with it. But there is a big ego problem in the chain as well, where we can't be honest with each other. We can't say, hey, your clarinet players got to stop tucking them pinkies.
That's a whole nother psychosocial conversation about gender, ethnicity, and men.
I know you got the research on it.
I'm playing. I love y'all.
Anybody, go ahead, tag in. I'm gonna
We're
shut up.
talking about like professional development. Like,
Ooh, God.
man, I got so many quotes and stuff that I say, but as you said, people just don't know. That it. I told this one of the students. I had a student that I was telling them, please don't change your major. Please do not change your major. I was like, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to go back to my high school and teach. I was like, but you don't know nothing. I was like, you're barely reading. You barely reading, but you got the ability to play. But if you change your major, you're gonna go back and teach at your high school and you don't know nothing. And we got too many people that don't know nothing, who know just a little bit, teaching people who don't know anything, and the people who don't know anything are looking at them like they know everything. And so if you're a person that doesn't know anything, but you're looking at the person that doesn't know much and you think they know everything, once you know just a little bit, you're gonna believe you know everything, but you don't know nothing. And now we got this cycle just going over and over and over again because we got too many people that don't know what they're doing, and they don't attend conferences. They don't practice on their own. They don't look for any type of professional development, or if they do go to professional developments like MEAs or whatever, they're just going to go kick it. They don't go see any type of, like, you play brat. Like, I have a student who used to be who wasn't a music major, but now they're teaching at a high school, and they're like, well, he said, what should I do? It's like, go to everything about everything, because you don't know nothing. Like, you play sousaphone, so go to all of the wind instrument. I mean, like the woodwind things, because you don't have this connection with your woodwind students because you never had to go through woodwind pedagogy or anything like that. Like, you don't know anything. But you got these people that come away, and hey, look, hate on me if you want to. They got these people that go to these high school band competitions. Everybody's getting trophies. You come back to your high school principal and you're like, oh, we got these trophies. And so now people are like, oh, cool, I got third place in music, but it was only 3 bands. You actually got last. And so they're like, oh, but I got third and I got a trophy. And so now I'm that dude, and you pumping your chest, but you don't know nothing.
You, whew,
Woo.
Like,
You don't put it. We need a shirt.
it's just,
you don't know
You don't
me.
know nothing.
it's
Myth.
You
just
don't know anything. Like,
like,
not just
man.
some things.
And then
Steven,
and then a big
go
issue
ahead.
is
Tap
people
that
look at it
I
like
have
people look
questions.
at
Hold
it
on, let me look like Amazon.
and people look at it like, okay, oh, these white schools, oh, that's just what they do. No, they're actually playing the standards of their of their state. Like, if you look at the standards of a state, like the musical requirements for the school institutions, all of them lay out what you're supposed to be doing. Like when you graduate, you're supposed to the student should know these things, know their major skills, even know how to improv. That's in a lot of the states, like standards and requirements. Oh, but because they got a jazz band over there, that ain't what we do. We just finna do what we do. And so now you got these students graduating that don't know nothing, but because this is what we do, that's just who I am. And now that's just gonna be me. But now you don't have a degree and you want to go back and help out at your school, but you don't know nothing.
Nothing. I have a question
Yeah,
because
yeah, okay.
Get
this,
mad over here because you don't know.
listen, because I go back to, again, just thinking about the state of Maryland and thinking about there is a literal law on the books that requires arts education experiences and classes, depending on what grade level, either every year, every discipline, or just experiences, particularly for elementary school. And those schools, because of funding issues, because of some principals having a complete autonomy over funding and then they don't fund the arts, whatever the issue is, these schools are not getting what they need. And oftentimes those schools are populated by individuals that look like you and me. And so my question is, as HBCUs, we have to answer to accrediting bodies in order to, maintain our credentials. Are these standards in line with the actual reality of current education, of the plight of people of color, Black people specifically, that accounts for, acknowledges, and can address one, the barriers to education, especially for people of color, and then the standards that we should have? Like, I'm not saying lower the standards, but are our credentials as HBCUs, we are striving for these credentials set by a body that don't look like us. And as people of color, as African peoples, we have different value systems, different ways of learning, different approaches, and we are trying to fit into a colonialized system. I hate to be that person, my Omar Johnson tip right now, but I'm just saying, like, we keep trying to fit into these boxes, and we've been failing, not failing, but we've been struggling and killing ourselves trying to meet these standards. The method of how we're trying to meet these standards doesn't match our actual needs. The standards are the standards, but our path and our methods to getting to those standards, should we be having different conversations from a standard level statewide for particularly for HBCUs? I just
I'm my hand up. Curriculum writer here. I've written curriculum for MSDE. I wrote the curriculum for Baltimore City Schools for high school because there was none. It was building a plane while flying it. Here's the problem. Some people say, I don't teach the curriculum because it does not reflect the students that I teach. Often it is not the curriculum that does not reflect, because often when we talk about curriculum, we're really just talking about standards. List. Students shall be able to read whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, 16th notes, equivalent rest. I got to memorize. Told you, write them. They say our kids can't do this. And then their kid comes to me with all the deficiencies. And then I post a video, and half of my freshmen could not read a grade 1 piece of music in September. We are playing a 5 right now. It has nothing to do with the standard. It has everything to do with what we call teacher withedness and the ability to actually teach. It is not the standard that is the problem. And I have to say this.
That's not what I'm saying, Chris. I said the standard is the standard.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
The method to how we get there.
Right. I'm agreeing with you, sis. We don't know enough tools in our toolbox to teach a standard, even in the way that our kids will understand. There is no sugarcoating. There is no shortcut in my bedroom. But what I will say is, hey, you ever played that game Bop It? You ever played this? That's how I need you to do these notes. You need to bop them. Bop it. Bop, bop. That's the same thing as playing it short and disconnected. I might not be able to say that. But when we talk about the standards, what I hear a lot of times is someone says, I can't teach the standards. Now, how far you move with the standard is going to vary. I will say that because I taught the K through L through Z dumping ground for 15 years. I know, but they still can play and read a grade 3 piece of music in the district you're talking about specifically. The problem is We don't have tools in our toolbox to teach our kids. And part of it is because the people who teach our kids often have no clue of their community. They have no clue of their culture. They have no clue of just, they can't even navigate the city without the what you call a GPS on. Because they come to work and they haul ass up the highway as far away as possible from the kids.
So the question has to be asked again at HBCUs, the method in which we approach these standards, whether it's how we hire, the onboarding process, if you have one, because all right, the professional development that continues to understand the plight of Black students. For example, I had to sit in a meeting with professors, arts professors, and I was supposed to be a fly in the wall, and I got so angry I couldn't help myself, and I was like, so you got these issues and these challenges with these students. You're telling me that your students aren't showing up to class. When they show up to class, they're not engaged, or if they show up to class, or they're not showing up to class because they've been sick or they've been tired or they just have no energy. And I was like, that sounds like depression. You got a class full of depressed Black folk. And instead of being like, I don't know. Well, here's the thing: as Black folks, we don't allow for us to have mental health issues because there's a rack of us that got autism, ADHD, and depression, and other bipolar, and we're trying to teach. And musicians, we real special people. We tend to have all these diagnoses and don't know it. And music was our way of coping.
We got the isms.
We got all the isms.
We got the isms.
At least one of us got an ism in here, just
Yes, I do.
for physical purposes, right? And what do we need to do in our departments, in our schools of music at HBCUs, so that we can address and teach and acknowledge all of the things that come with being a professor at a HBCU in the music department specifically? What
First
do you,
thing we did after, I don't know. First thing we did at UMBC after the pandemic is we rewrote the curriculum.
But
Plain and simple.
HBCU at a
So
HBCU.
why can't we sit down? It was a 1 day meeting. You all got to come to these meetings. It was 1 day, and we just said we got this list of problems. Everybody got to say about their problems, and then we just had to constantly come up with plans on how to interact. We had to build in SEL. We had to build in more classroom time as a part of a method course. We tagged on going to the school down the street once a week, across the street in some cases. I don't know. We rewrote the curriculum, but that here's the thing though, that doesn't cost anything, y'all.
Time and effort.
And effort. We
Yeah.
rewrote, and by the way, all of the music education professors at UMBC, 80% of us are Black. So there's the other part. And at a HBCU, how many of our often professors look like the students that they teach at our HBCUs? I'm gonna leave that alone though.
No, let's not leave it alone because I have some stuff to say about that. But
listen?
Oh, Stephen had his hand up.
Stephen, you got the flow. I'm
Okay.
sure.
um, so when we talking about curriculum, especially in the K through 12, it's pretty like defined according to what state you're in. Is boom, students should be able to do this by this point in age, in whatever age they are, right? So in college, we have the, I'll say, authority or chance, opportunity. How about that? We have the opportunity to change the curriculum. Let's say you have 4 semesters of theory, right? Freshman, sophomore theory. And I'm speaking from the, you know, dealing with folks who have to take the praxis. If you can't analyze a secondary dominant in a score, how I'm going to get you to pass the praxis?
Can't.
At least recognize it, you know. So if we're in 4th semester theory and we're going 12 tone roll serialism, and you can't tell me what the 5 chord is in G minor, that is a problem. We got to get back to the fundamentals and on our side too, because guess what? All the kids that we're teaching, the music majors that we're teaching, they're the ones that's going out into the communities, and it's just like a domino effect. If if I'm not teaching them the basics of what they need to know, like it needs to be automatic, they're gonna go and have their programs, and they're gonna be not teaching anything, and it's
Yep.
just gonna be an endless cycle.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna say like I just got to pub it, but VSU is a unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
We literally gone through our NASM accreditation. When Dr. Rowley got there 2 years ago, we absolutely rewritten the curriculum because we saw that one, students weren't passing the praxis. We were seeing that students were not having senior recitals, or their senior recitals weren't necessarily showcasing full musicianship. So we're like, what are these students learning? Like everybody had to go back to the drawing board and see what's working, what's not working, how can we implement it. If a music major should know XYZ when they graduate,
Mm-hmm.
is it found in our curriculum? Like, where is it? Is it in the PSLOs? Is it SLO? Like, where is in the adjudication of it all? Like, where is it found? And if it's not found, then we need to make sure we have this. And where in your curriculum is it saying that you're teaching this? And so I think a lot of times we just push these students out the door because it's like, oh, they done, they through. Like, no, like did we really prepare them? So now this is another conversation because it comes from the top. Like assessments. Like, are we really truly assessing what's taking place? Or are we saying, oh no, this is just how we do it? It's just the tradition of the program. I saw somebody saying some of the professors need to retire. Is it just like, oh, I've been teaching at this university for 50 years and I haven't attended any professional developments. I just know what I know and it's going to be what it's going to be. Like, no, that can't be it. I absolutely think the curriculums need to be reviewed. If you're gonna go, that's why NASM accreditation takes place every 10 years to say, okay, it's a new decade. What are you doing? And do you have the evidence to show that this is what you said you was doing? And that ultimately impacts the students positively to make sure they're prepared when they graduate.
And listen, I'll tell you from I remember my sophomore year. Morgan had it was up for their reaccreditation process, and they scheduled a recital for the members of the body. And Morgan is a great institution. This is not a shade or a shot to Morgan. I'm just saying I can only imagine what happens elsewhere. But of course, naturally, they picked their top students to perform. And I remember being like, what am I performing for? And they were just like,
They picked me last.
we're doing this thing, and, and we just want to, let showcase that, our students are prepared and getting adequate learning. Now, I was doing what I had to do. So I did the performance. But from a grander scale, how many institutions are kind of like just pushing their best students forward to be the face?
Teaching to the test.
The rest of them that's gonna be coming through your program and going outside to teach and represent you, like, how are we assessing what matters and what are our values as HBCUs with music programs? Like, what really matters? Because standards are standards, but there's other elements to this thing about the experience of education.
So I
Oh,
think
Troy,
what
then Stephen, or yeah.
yeah, what Alyssa is asking, why are we keeping up with the Joneses? Why are we keeping up with these other schools if we do not have our stuff together? And first thing I wanted to say, I admire what's going on at Virginia State. Like a student, like somebody like me would have wanted that for my own university. Everything that Virginia State is doing. So I really admire what's going on there. Um, I feel like it's going to be an uphill battle because with a lot of organizations getting rid of DEIA initiatives, because, well, one, not following through with them in the first place, it's just words written down. And secondly, with them getting rid of it, it goes back to the problem again. It makes a bigger problem. How do we advocate for these students who do not know what a standard is, know that there is a standard? How do we hold and who do we hold accountable for having that standard? Because um, I'm gonna tell you, it goes back to what I was saying about my saxophone student who is a music major. How can I hold him accountable if he didn't know anything? If he doesn't know the basics, if he came in to something that he didn't know what he was getting into. I keep asking this question because I am a new professor, but I think our audience should hear from this perspective, like where do we stand? How do we, especially as an adjunct? I'm not even full time, so how can we become invested, or is it even worth our time becoming invested? Well, it is our career path, it's our profession, so of course we should be invested. But how do we get the change of curriculum? Like for Bowie State, we are in the process of trying to get music education back. So how, and I want to be a part of it, but also we have to set that standard because I've had conversations with other professors. Students are not coming to class. They're having especially, and it was an uptick after the election of students going through um, depression, not answering emails, not answering text messages. We have at Bowie, we have so many fronts and applications to let advisors and departments know that, hey, this student is not doing this, the student is not showing up, they haven't done an assignment. um, we have these things in place, but how do we follow through on this? And where does it come from? It doesn't come from the department, does it come from the school? uh, it should be a trickle down process from the administration to the department, and we really have to be invested in our students. And I noticed like different departments, this goes to my experience at Morgan, they are invested in those things. But my department that I came from is they're not invested. They're still it's the same old, business as usual. And we have students that are just falling through the cracks and nobody seems to care. Some departments care, some departments care, others don't. There's nothing, there's not a universal standard, I think, as far as higher ed goes. And it's trickling down to public education. It's just trickling down altogether in all subject areas. You know, I just wanted to put that out there because, we have so many students falling through the cracks because of all these
Isms.
outside, yeah, isms, all these outside issues. Like we can't even talk about music because like music, like this is outside of music. This is everything else that's going on. So how can we touch on a standard when there isn't a standard, or they just don't feel like it?
Stephen,
Okay, and once again, I might get in trouble, but
it's called an
I'm
off
not
the
gonna say.
floor.
I'm not gonna say anywhere specifically, but in my opinion, at HBCU programs, music programs, the director of bands is like the almighty, can control the narrative of your program. And if you have a musician, an educator as your director of bands, department chair, whatever you, those two, in some places they're both, like they're the one person. Like if that person is a musician, knows what it takes to practice, sit there, want to practice in front of a music stand, does it, can write, knows how to teach, can teach your music ed majors how to do drill, like all of that stuff. If that director of bands is on it and has a clear vision of what they want, It don't even matter. Like if even if the kids aren't music majors, like you have a certain standard for your band program, your music program. Like you can do so much with that.
I
It's
agree.
a big opportunity.
Dr. Lawhorn.
All right, Steve, you say you about to get in trouble.
Good show, by the way, y'all.
So I'm about to drop the ball. I'm just gonna say it. All right. I hated the movie Drumline, right? Because Drumline just had so many people who just had an affiliation for the instrument to just go. But it was a good thing for band, right? Everybody, I don't need to know how to read. I can just play stick tricks and all of that stuff. All right, cool. And for a while, we were just seeing such influx of drumline students who were just like, I just want to be on a drumline and not know, like, fully understand what it takes to be a music student, a percussionist, know everything, and come back and teach. And I made the comment like a last year. I was like, man, you know how like all these drum heads, all these Devin Miles, whatever. I was like, now we're starting to see
Mm.
how the movie Drumline affected band because we have so many band heads who are now band directors. And Steve, like you just said, if you get a musician in there that sees the holistic view that dictates what needs to be done, that's it. But now we got these Devin Miles that's a band director that's just saying, this is all we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. So we don't have adequate educators who are instructing our future educators. And so now we're giving so much power to band heads and not full musicians who have the power over our music departments. And that's where it's a big issue. And the problem is, look, you can be a band head all you want to. Cool, love it. That's your thing. But I do not believe that the band head should be the end all be all music educator because all you care about is this one pocket of a sliver of what a full totality of a music program is supposed to be. So yeah, drumline didn't just affect the drumline. We got a lot of Devin Miles that are counting and clapping and saying ready and play and blow and whatever. And that's
Ooh.
not how it should be.
Pause. You see everybody's face?
Oh boy.
Jesus,
I
everybody.
throwing the Maryland flag up like 3 or 4 times. The flag on the play.
I said it. I said it, Crystal, at the last live stream we had. I said every band director is not a music educator.
Nope. But now it's the acceptable norm. It used to be not the norm. It used to be the exception to the rule. Now it's the rule. College presidents are hiring for a band head. They're recruiting for a band head. They don't require a doctorate. They don't require a master's degree. They just need somebody to teach them how to crank up so they can be on TV and get
Listen,
them YouTube likes.
and it comes down to admin because admin need education too. I told you all I was a director of programs for a after school and summertime music program, arts program, and I distinctly remember trying to implement a community music program in a high school, and the principal was like, "Yeah, we got all the equipment. You got everything you need." This is in DC, by the way. I get to the school. I'm about to do inventory in the band closet, and when I tell you, all the instruments was not. They were broken. Maybe 2 or 3 percussion sets might have been like the quads and some snares. The harnesses were like janky, and he was just like, "Well, okay, the instruments don't work, but the drums work." And I was like, huh, not really. Well, I'm saying, can we just do like a little drum line or something? And I was like, but we're a comprehensive music program. What you talking about, Willis? And this is the principal, and I gotta walk the fine line of politics because
And
I'm trying to get our program into your school. And he goes, well, it looks like, okay, based on what you said, we don't have the money to prepare all these instruments or to buy new instruments, but we could do a drum line, right? And I was like, potentially. Maybe we could build. Maybe that'll be the introduction to music theory, counting, rhythms, all other stuff. And he was like, what's that? You can't just teach them by rote. And I was like, I quit. I literally was like, yeah, no, that's not what we do. And it
And then
sounds
pulling
like this one is not what we can offer you.
this into the applied professor, teaching applied, like it makes teaching applied even more difficult from a musical standpoint because the band head is telling the students blow, crank, whatever, and you're putting all of this, doing all of this damage. I'm gonna say damage, like to
It's
embouchure,
damage.
to approach, to tone, and everything like that. And then like you come to your applied lesson, and now you got nothing but band chops when we're trying to play lyrical stuff. And then it makes it difficult for the applied professor
White
because
people
like,
music, though.
yeah,
I'm being devil. It's white people music. Y'all teaching the white people music. We teaching them stuff that's relevant. But then I look at people like Marie Douglas, Kevin Day. Shout out to the frat. We look at people like Chadwick Hughes. Let's keep naming them. Ayati Shabazz. Had a great conversation with him.
Valerie
People
Coleman.
Valerie Coleman. People who look like us and our kids can't even play their damn music. Sorry, that's my rant.
my
Our
bad,
kids
my bad,
can't
Steve. Go ahead, you
even
got it.
play. Steve, go ahead.
uh,
I'm sorry. Can't
I
even
tell you,
play their damn
I
music.
keep getting in trouble today.
Just go ahead,
So
wrap up.
in the secondary methods class,
Oh no.
like oftentimes I'll ask them something. One of these questions I asked them was, "Is there a difference between a band director and a music educator, and can you be both?"
Is the answer not obvious?
I'm a band director and a music educator. I don't think a lot of people are anymore, and I think that's more of the problem.
Hmm.
I don't think the two one is better than the other. I think the two have to be a happy marriage that knows exactly the place of each other. Like I'm married. I've been
How do,
married for 19 years.
how do we get to this point though, where band director and music educator, like that relationship got fractured?
The
How
college
did we
band
get to this
director
point?
has
How
to
do
be
we
one too.
rectify it?
The college band director has to be one too.
I
They,
think oh, go ahead.
yeah, that's just my,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it became a singular focus. Me and Rolly talked about it a while back. I think if Darren can hear me, it was like I think he said Dr. White had said the statement of you have to have a private lesson approach to your band instruction, right? Meaning you should be on the podium being able to correct pedagogical issues. Like, okay,
Mhm.
which is why I have a disconnect, when I previously worked as a band director, because I didn't have enough wind band pedagogy in me to correct, issues, embouchures, open your, teeth, aperture, make all of these certain things that I was slowly, fully starting to understand, but I couldn't quite connect because I didn't have that much wind band pedagogy in me. But because, if you're going to be the band director, you should be able to address these issues when you hear them. And then I'll say this: some of this comes down to the band director not having the proper degree, right? And I'll explain what I mean by the proper degree. A lot of people take the shortcut of getting degrees, and I'm not talking about just online degrees or whatever. I'm talking about the type of degree that you have. People don't understand that if I get a doctorate in music ed or a master's in music ed, I'm just getting philosophies of how people teach music. I'm always telling people or students or whatever, go get a degree in conducting. They're like, why? I said, because you'll be in front of the band, working the band, getting all type of issues out, like trying to get different artistic tones and moods and all of these type of things. You're going to be in front of the band studying scores, trying to see how can I get the best out of my band versus being a music ed student talking about Kodai and Orff and Suzuki and all of this stuff, which doesn't necessarily relate to a 200-piece band. You're going to be in front of the band conducting them, and when you hear an issue, if you studied enough and you have the correct degree, you've been in these situations to where you can correct the issue. But instead, it's just like, uh, play louder, uh, do it again.
Do it again. Do what again? Fix
Go
what?
to go to sectionals and work on it. But okay, you went to sectional, you didn't give them that information that they needed from a private lesson approach to fix those issues from a band director perspective. Yeah.
And that I find when I go observe teachers, because I am the teacher, I am on the all the spectrums. I get them. I have middle schoolers who come after school from my feeder to assist for free. So can't nobody say, well, what are you doing to help them? Giving up driving 90 minutes later than I should for free. On the other end of the spectrum, Dr. Lawhorn, the band director has to know pedagogy, but at the same time, you've got to be transparent when you don't. And you were transparent. You were trans I got a conducting degree not because I wanted to conduct a New York Philharmonic. I needed to be able to tech my own band. And people don't realize that they can't tech their own band. They don't have enough to tech their own band. They can get in and play loud, but them kids can't play soft to save their life unless, like, when they do, it exposes everything wrong about how they learn. Stephen.
And bringing it back to applied lessons, especially like when I was a high school director, like I treated it like it was a football team. Like you got to recruit for your program, but also you need to put a staff around you that has your back and they cover your weaknesses and you people that you can learn from. Cause I'll be honest, like being a bander, it's tough. Like it's so much stuff that you have to be really good at, and and nobody is perfect, and that's okay. Like I just try to get people to understand, like, okay, when I was a director, percussion was my weakness, right? But what did I do? I have a percussionist on my staff who knows how to deal with that stuff. But I'm watching everything he's doing when he's teaching my kids. And it came in handy too, because I started working on rudiments myself. I was able to teach, my percussionists, at least get them started going in the right direction, because that's not my instrument. And I had to play drum set on a concert because my drum set player couldn't make it. So I had to play Billie Jean.
Get them chops up, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like being a band director is tough, but it's really fulfilling, and I kind of do miss it, to be honest. Like I miss that aspect of it, like because you just got to be ready for anything.
I have a question. As you share that, one of the things I'm always thinking about, as a one of the reasons why I did not go into the classroom setting, I was like, I want a life. No
they ain't
shade
got
to
no
it.
life.
Yeah,
I want a
yeah,
life, right?
yeah.
So let me stick to what works with my lifestyle choices and preferences. But as a band director, for those of you who are band directors, specifically music educators, um, do you feel like, okay, let me frame it this way. In order to be a band director, there are a myriad of skills you need to have outside of pedagogy. You need to have business management skills, you need to have counseling skills, you need to have planning skills, and you need to be able to have administrative skills because if you can't do it, you got to hire somebody to do it. You got to have the advocacy skills and be able to get people to recognize the value of a program. Low key, you need marketing and advertising skills and recruitment skills. There's all these skills that you need to be a band director. And my question is, as a collective, do we feel like bachelor's programs give insight to that to help launch you into a career as an educator or a band director? Because let's be honest, a lot of people come out with their undergrad degree and pursue a teaching gig. Great, nothing wrong with that. But do we feel like our undergraduate programs are providing enough insight to prepare students for that? And also, are we also considering the challenges that folks may have pursuing a master's degree, whether it be access to a program in their community or region, uh, accreditation barriers, not accreditation, teaching credential barriers, and or financial barriers. So like, do we need, again, from the curriculum standpoint, Does something need to happen to shift to account for this so that coming out from a bachelor's program, we could put more qualified people out from the bachelor's level and they can continue to advance at the master's level? Do we feel like HBCUs are striking a balance with this?
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think so. Well, not necessarily that. I think students need to understand that being a band director is not their only option when they major in music.
mm,
I
Mm.
think too often we tell students, "Oh, like, oh, I'm coming to major in music. Oh, you're gonna be a band director." No, you can do so much. You can go into arts advocacy. You can go into a music business. You can go into just do a slew of things. Community advocates that can actually advocate for more music. You can do. You can go into nonprofit arenas. You can go into all types of things with a degree in music. But too often, the students just come from their one experience as being a band director, and they don't understand that there are many more options for them with the degree in music. When they come into HBCUs, because there's such a big focus on marching band, and their biggest joy and experience is being in the band, they're like, "Well, I want to do that," not realizing that they have a lot of other options with a degree in music. Now, and that's why I believe we're kind of doing some things at VSU with enhancing our Bachelor of Arts degree in music. You're going to take a core courses in music, but you don't necessarily have to take all of the courses in ed. You don't necessarily have to take all of the performance courses either. You can kind of dictate what it is that I want to do. Now, you're going to have to be proficient as a musician, but what if you want to take more classes in business? Or what if you want to potentially take more classes in music production, but you also want to do some other things? And now you want to go into music business with law as an emphasis. You can do that with the Bachelor of Arts in music. We just have to let students know you have other options than just being a band director.
um,
Who's responsible for that messaging? Is it the applied? Is it the department head? Where are we? Where's the universal decision, if we need one, to be like, this is part of the messaging? Who's responsible?
It it's a collective. It's really the department, and depending on how the school and how they do things with changing curriculums and stuff. I know for us, we have to like do a long range planning, and it's like a very intense document. It goes very in depth of
mhm.
your program and why you need to change this. Why do you want to change this? And to be honest, I think some folks, not in my school, but like just in general, I think some professors they just like I don't feel like doing that. I'm just gonna keep it the same and just moving on and get my check. But the folks that are like, you know what, I gotta put in this effort, extra effort. I'm not getting paid to do this part, but we gotta change something. So it's a very intense document. It's like NASM accreditation stuff. It's intense, but it can be done. And some professors just need to be more confident in themselves. Like you got degrees for a reason. You know what I mean? Use them. Like use your knowledge. Use that to advocate for your students, not
Uh,
just your students, the communities.
Steve, can you ask Dr. Holloway you know, that same question? Who's the front runner? Who's responsible for that balance in the music department that Alyssa asked? Because I don't know if he can hear me, but he probably can hear you.
Oh,
No, just say it. Because he can
oh,
hear you.
oh! I said, how do you all make decisions in the changing curriculum as a department? Like what does that process look like what needs to happen? Does somebody needs to say, hey, because you all just got a jazz studies degree, right? Not too
Um,
Dr.
long ago.
Dr. Holloway, you there?
Yeah. Oh, my bad.
yeah, answer that question. You gotta tell him because he can't
Go
hear.
ahead.
He don't know you talking to him.
Can you answer?
Yeah.
What came out of the? I'll answer. Well, can he hear? I don't. Where did he go? It came out of a curriculum committee that
Hmm.
literally reviewed everything, and through that committee, recommendations were made during a series of faculty meetings, and then we voted on the things. and it was some tough conversations because some stuff had to be added, or some stuff needed to be added, some stuff needed to be taken away. So some people thought, "Oh, I'm going to be teaching this course." It's not within the curriculum and thing that's been voted on, and so that's how that happened. I think the biggest thing is people don't like confrontation, and people don't like making tough decisions. And it's something that I had to learn. Sometimes you have to make a hard decision, not a heart decision,
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
right? And as HBCUs, we're always like making those hard decisions because we're so connected. We're supposed to be doing these things. But at the end of the day, we need to make hard decisions for the betterment of the long run and stop just
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, it's y'all don't play it like that no more." Or like, no, I'm sorry, ma'am, no, we don't. We have to make some changes, and yeah, I appreciate you bringing your bean pies and your Kool Aid juice for the faculty meeting, but we can't do those things anymore. We're trying to move forward in 2025.
Not bee pies and Kool-Aid juice. Get out of here.
Hey, that's
Ask
that's a
Dr.
tradition.
Holloway what he think, because he can't hear me. So y'all have to tell him, chime in. Anybody?
Dr. Holloway, are you there, sir?
What was the question again? I'm sorry, so I can try to relate it
Who's
to it.
who's responsible for that universal messaging about pathways for music majors, whether it's music education, music business, music law, production, producing, whatever? Dr. Holloway, the question is for you. Is it applied uh, music instructors? Is it the director of music? Is it the chairperson? Who is that person? If you're there, Dr. Holloway. It looks like he's offline. That's the message I'm getting.
Yeah, he can hear us, but he can't turn on his camera.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
At least I thought.
No, it looks like he's just offline.
Oh
That's
yeah, but it's not because he unmuted. But I think his signal might not be strong enough to cut through. That's what
okay.
I think at
Mhm.
this point.
We might have lost him then. Okay.
Um,
Can I add on something to
yeah,
that?
please.
So in terms of like preparing our music majors, I'll be quite honest with my education at PWIs. Like it was great for, playing my instrument and in my musicianship, being able to play in ensembles and etc. But as far as like transitioning into a career, eh, I never thought about, like, I'm sitting there doing the DMA. I never thought about doing curriculum tables.
Mm,
It was all trumpet, and that affects the pedagogy as an applied instructor.
mm.
You know, so I'm trying to keep it to the topic at hand because people, so many people go to get a DMA, and like it's, I'll say it, 10% of my job is my instrument. Hate to say it, but it is.
Especially at HBCUs, I'll say that.
Yes.
I
Like,
would almost argue any field that's arts related and you're in the profession of it, the art usually comes last.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Are we even having
yeah.
those conversations? Like,
Um, I I also think um we gotta stop beefing with each other within the university. Um, I I don't know. My scope is different, but this music department versus the band director, adjuncts versus the band. Don't get up and run because we've had a little conversation. Steve don't know he my new favorite trumpet friend. Okay, this beef is destroying our music majors because there is importance in everybody's place. But the problem I see sometimes is everybody wants to be first, damn it, all the time. There's
that
no compromise. I have to compromise with my pedagogy classes all the time because my classes are at night. And sometimes, and our ensemble runs at night as well. I taught it last semester. I was actually teaching ensemble. There was nobody but me, which meant I had to learn how to be like, oh, seniors got their senior recital, and one of my seniors' recital is on the same day as my rehearsal. Guess what, y'all? We not gonna have rehearsal tonight. We're gonna go see Shelly's senior recital.
That's a conversation about leadership. And back to what I said about being a band director, but it at the collegiate level, are we preparing people or at least giving them insight at the bachelor's level about another skill? Because I talked about the other skills: counseling, negotiations, advocacy, leadership.
Cause we too big. We need leadership training because we all think that we the leader. And the band director, I'm a band one. I'll talk about us because I'm one. Some of us got the biggest ego that don't think anything else in that department matters, but that field
Not
show
that
we
note.
got to put on. We don't care about nobody else. We don't care that this kid is not even gonna be a band director, so they don't need to be out there all the damn time. We don't care that they got an hour recital to put on, and we blow their chops away because we still doing this ensemble. We won't let one go. We cuss them out when they want to leave, and when they do, we snatching their scholarship, but we still hanging with Pootie and Tay Tay that can't play.
Listen, I distinctly remember, I don't want to put nobody business out there, but que sera. I distinctly remember with my applied instructor and
Beefing.
beefing hard.
But I know because we have the same.
And I distinctly remember being like, that don't make no sense to me because I need both of y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to get it together. This is me as
Mhm.
a student, like, so I got to pick between both of y'all. No, we're not doing. But I'm also a different type of person. If you haven't figured out, I'm pretty opinionated. I definitely was vocal and was like, so what's the priority here? Y'all tell me because I'm looking to y'all for guidance. And if y'all can't figure it out, I'm gonna pick for me,
I didn't
uninformed
learn.
and underinformed, which is a disservice to the student because I'm going off of what I think. I don't know nothing about the grand scale of things. I'm just a child, a wee lad, trying to make grown decisions when the people who are supposed to be my
Advocates.
and advocates can't communicate amongst each other. Very
Yes,
much.
we can.
You said that. Yeah. Mom and dad, or mom and mom, or dad and dad, depending on, the scenario. Beefing.
Beefing. But I mean, we're supposed to be the adults. At the end of the day, what do our students get out of this? What do they get out of this? We the new adults. It's us, y'all. And I never thought it was gonna be me. Like
Listen,
I'm
I still don't feel like an adult, but let's go.
don't right. My son is in my band. That kind of really checks a lot for me as far as what he can do because I'm his teacher. I teach 50% of his classes all day. I see my own son every day. And I get a comparison study. I'm like, oh man, what was happening for this child's development that's different than mine? That when they can't play a quarter note or something, they put the horn down and they cry. Like that's real. Like you said, that I said, like, I can't even begin to push you anymore because you have disengaged from the learning process for a myriad of reasons: trauma, lack of affirmation, nobody believing in what you did. I had to console a child after our winter concert. She said, neither one of my parents coming.
Cultural.
She was losing it. That kid is gonna play flat. That kid is gonna miss notes. That kid might not even come in or might not even play a note for the rest of that concert.
And them babies played. Them
Thank
babies
you. But
played at that
but
concert.
y'all see a live that's 20 minutes long. Lauren sees 2 hours of me talking to one student, trying to get them off the ledge. One student come out in the hallway. Let's talk. What's going on?
Again, another question. Are we teaching at the
Nobody's
bachelor's
ready for
level?
that.
about creating culture. You're a culture cultivator too as a band director. Are we
I don't
giving
know
the
what
same
y'all
advice
got.
to
I don't know.
students?
I
Are
learned that
we
that's what we want.
I'm gonna throw I'm gonna throw some shade everybody's way. Okay.
Uh-uh.
As a child with Caribbean parents whose accents are very thick, like they just got off the plane yesterday because they didn't come on a boat, contrary to popular belief that all immigrants come off a boat. Distinctly remember a band director, a black person, calling my family's cultural foods jungle food, that stinky food stuff. Now, again, I'm an opinionated person, so I didn't take that lightly and had a conversation about it. But not every student was like me. That can push people away. And I'm in need for my African American friends for y'all to keep cultural competency up because, contrary to popular belief, black culture is not just African American.
Correct.
Very.
Mhm.
The selling point is no longer saving at risk children.
Culturally competent.
What are our values? What are
Steve's
our
hand
values?
up. Mm. Steven.
Okay. Here's a question to go off of that.
Call you Professor X, by the way, because he come in
Okay.
every time, just
um.
the whole room. All right, go ahead.
So I think at a lot of HBC programs, like, and we talking about undergrad curriculum, right? You have to do marching band to graduate. So
Okay.
should that be a thing? What if a kid doesn't want to do marching band, but they're
Mm,
like killing on clarinet?
don't say
Yes, that's yes.
All
There
right.
we go. There
Here
you
we
go.
go. Here we go. It
They're
goes
Because a
not a
back.
lot
music ed
of
major. They're performance.
and
They don't want to
see,
be a band director.
It goes
I
back to the department from the top and what we offer to our students. right?
Mm,
So there should absolutely be opportunities for students to participate in large ensembles that are not marching related.
mm,
And we got to stop saying, "Oh, concert season is just in the spring."
mm,
Oh
You know,
There we
Lord.
have it.
you can go
Mm-hmm.
to a symphony concert in September,
mm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A
right?
lot of universities, they
So
have
yeah, so
fall.
why
Yeah.
should we limit large ensembles to just marching band? And this is again,
Yeah.
this is
but
departmental.
here's devil's advocate. Again, we now have the exception to the rule has become the rule of presidents. We have principals, assistant principals, athletic directors, who now your job depends on it. Have we not seen people who were music educators fired within the last year?
Mm.
Who said anything on their behalf? Let's look at our culture. Let's look. They weren't a bad band director. They were not a poor music educator. They actually was a proficient music educator. How many times are we watching our own now get canned for the culture? And how often when we see that now new branded band that everybody's saying now they a real band, but do they have real musicians anymore? Do they have
Mm.
real future music educators anymore? Are we really changing who begots who? Have we gone from Cain and Abel and now who we celebrate? Because they're charismatic. They're charismatic and they got a personality. They know how to recruit. Don King knew how to recruit people and give a blank contract with a $0 at the end, and people signed, and they were the best boxers on earth, but they ended up broke because
Mm.
at the end of the day, they didn't know how to manage themselves as a businessman, as their own proprietary business. And what we do have now, I have a great business. Y'all have provided me with a whole new business, the culture. I consult. And I started consulting during the pandemic, and business is good because now I deal with people who get the positions, run into that principal, run into that district that says, here's the curriculum, here are the standards. They come in your room and they don't see them on the board. They come in your room, you ain't got a lesson plan in sight. They come in your room, you don't have written assessments on their playing, even though they're playing. And now you're on a PIP. Now you're on a performance improvement plan. And guess who you call? Me. I got my LLC. And when they call me, I'm just telling them basic stuff. Basic. I don't have to crack open a textbook from my undergrad days, not from my curriculum days. I'm telling them basic band director toolbox stuff. That's why I named it what I did. And the problem is when those clients come to me, they do not go back to their universities. They do not go back to their band directors. They do not go back to, unfortunately, sometimes their private instructor. They do not go back to their high school. They still put them on a pedestal. And I said, but you broke and you're about to lose your job. And it doesn't matter why, because now that is the exception to the rule to be a music educator. It's the exception to the rule. And I'm making money off of you enough that I had to get an LLC for it. I said, because the tax man gonna get me. And that is a sad conundrum to be in. You don't know how to put on reads. But you got them kids blowing their faces off. You don't know how you don't know a rudiment if it ran up on you. You won't go to a conference, but you will take a selfie and you will how these. I tell my students all the time. I said I do not want you to leave and don't know a lot of things. There's some stuff you're not going to know because I only got a few hours, but you're going to go somewhere. If I don't know my pedagogy, I don't know my job, and you're going to run into a real one.
My last offering for the night is that
Whew.
it sounds like we need to create an accountability and implementation type of board
Mm.
that goes around checking because we got to reclaim the culture of music education first. if we want to see these changes. And it
Mm.
sounds like there needs to be the Avengers team of individuals who can go into districts, have a reporting system like, yeah, so I saw this band the other day, and then I got some questions about that pedagogy that's going on over there. And send that accountability implementation board member and be like, hey, buddy, sis, this ain't right.
But let's be real though.
Bring back shame.
Can we, when the exception to the rule is now the people who say, nah, F her, nah, I ain't, nah, she, nah, I'm cool and I got likes.
We need to flog them.
And here's the thing. There are elements that they have going well, and we about to end this. Like for instance, that fire they can put in a kid, man. I just need a piece of it because this crying in the middle of band got to stop because it got to stop. There is some exchange of information that needs to be had, but the egos are too far in the way for that exchange to be meaningful in those hard conversations. We're not friends in the craft anymore. Our band directors were friends in the craft, right? That's what's missing. I'll come in anybody band room as long as you're not disrespectful to me. Then I'm not going to ever show up, and my kids not showing up too. Hint, stop tagging me on certain band directors on my Facebook because you see grade 5 musicians, but you talked about the band director. My kids love me. They ain't coming. Let me just tell you that they not coming, and they don't care about your crank up. They got 4.3s. They don't care. They can go to school for free.
And rich parents.
We'll
And
take
rich
them.
parents.
We'll take them.
Yeah, y'all supposed to. Speaking of, when y'all gonna fill out the phone? I'm put. Listen, I need y'all to schedule this because I don't be wanting to teach on Friday for real.
See, no, my problem was, and I know we're getting off.
We
My
about to
problem
end.
was
We
you
gonna have to
said,
have a part 2.
you said you said the window was like, yeah, come up here between like 3 and 5 on Friday. I'm like in DC traffic, like
Man.
Well, make like come the day before,
like,
and
come
then
on,
You
man.
can
I
do
was like,
Zoom
y'all gotta
though.
make
Like
this.
you can come Zoom. Like y'all could do Zoom for real.
Nah,
Like
I need to be in there so
okay, I understand.
they can
You gotta put your
feel it.
coach. You got
I'm gonna make it happen. Like I've literally been trying to plan. Like how can I'm gonna have to go. I'm just gonna have to stay the night because
I'm
I can't.
sorry.
Ain't no
Our
way to
band
do it.
classes. Band is at the end of the day. Here's our problem. I teach music classes from 11:30 until 4:30. Their academic classes in the morning. Because they got 4.3s, we not pulling them from classes. That's just we got kids who taking all AP classes. They missed that class. They up
Mm.
on like my son's probably still doing homework right now. He's a freshman, like 2 AP classes. Like we not pulling them because in PG County, they care about having a well-rounded kid who's also smart and
I'm gonna
even
figure
with
it out.
yeah, I mean, just
Figure it out.
Zoom is an option. They really attentive. They do not zone. They don't. You won't see them texting. Not if they want to continue to like me. You won't see none of that. Just come on. Just I'll send you Zoom link for real. My percussionists, they would love a percussionist to come in.
We'll make it work.
All right, man. My trumpet players, especially, like I have, at least. But that's my. I'm not gonna spill. We could talk this offline. Thank y'all for coming on the show for real. It blessed me. Hit the share. Y'all share this. Like, just share the link from YouTube because it's, about an hour after. It's like live now, but just share it. Like, share it with students. Like, this is a real conversation. They need to hear it. I ain't afraid of difficult conversations, even with myself. People tell me difficult things about myself all the time. I have to listen, especially if I hear it more than once. It's got some relevancy to it. Y'all bless my heart though. Even with, Dr. Holloway with his cricket internet. I don't know. But that's it. That's all I got. I got to put the shameless plug. I got a t-shirt. I got a hoodie, a Diary of a Lady Band Director hoodie. And it is on the Passionist Network link. Just buy a hoodie. You get a discount. I'm going to buy my own hoodie because I like me. And I want other people to like me, but more so like what y'all are saying too. Because it's never too late to learn new things. Y'all be easy. Have a good weekend. I have to upload all solo ensemble songs into my county's web base by midnight, or all 32 of my kids ain't gonna be able to go to solo ensemble. So I got some work to do. Peace out.